Hey everybody. This is a special Brothers Empowerment because we actually have a special guest tonight, Miss Tara Henry. But before we go, if this is your very first time learning about Brother Empowerment, the main focus of Brother Empowerment is to empower our brothers. A lot of people have been asking, like, what do you guys do to motivate and encourage brothers? Well, we want to encourage brothers, but at the same time of encouraging brothers, we want to end misogyny, hyper or toxic masculinity, domestic violence, rape culture, and gender inequality is our focus, and we want to make sure that we're in tune and constantly keeping that focus. This is not about breaking anybody down and telling them things that they're doing wrong. This is more about telling them how we can all become better together. Okay? So now, Tara Henry, tell the people who you are.
I am Tara Henry, owner, artist, founder of Authors in Our Studio, company's Pedagogy Art LLC. And I'm so glad y'all came to hang out with me tonight.
I'm glad to be here. I'm definitely stoked to be here. So we got a lot of questions about, because we asked about different topics, and it actually is a lot of serious topics out there today. Mm-hmm. And I guess one of the main ones, and I think I want to go ahead and address it
Elephant in the room
and get it out of the room, is the whole R. Kelly situation. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where to end. But before we say our take on it, Tara, what's your take on the whole R. Kelly debacle?
Well, I gotta be on here doing this topic. Look, if you stop calling him R. Kelly and just talk about what happened, I think it would be less of a sensitive topic because everybody would just be able to call it what it is.
Yep.
They keep attaching his talent to an issue that it's not attached to. And people are ride or die hard like they know him personally. Mm-hmm. You weren't in the room.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and if you know anything about rape culture and how it traumatizes victims and how victims don't talk about it, and we're talking at the age bracket of the women, the girls, the little kids that it happened to. Yeah. Okay, you don't even trust them to have a house key at that age most of the time. So how do you want them to be responsible to figure all of that kind of a situation out?
Exactly.
You know, they're starstruck too. Y'all still starstruck. The grown people now are starstruck.
Yeah.
Right.
How are the victims not supposed to have been starstruck?
Yeah.
You know
exactly.
So all of this, you know, but this is just another thing that's very divisive and it's unfortunate. Because people are trying to be hashtag Team R. Kelly because of who he is and because of his music. It's attached to a lot of people's pockets, which is why they're staying away from it.
Yep.
So if you remove the money and the name and the fame and just give it the facts, I think there'd be a lot less to argue about. And I think he'd be in jail.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. What's your take on it?
Well, okay, so my take on it, and I'll start here. I agree with everything you said, Tara. I would just like to put out there that there are a lot of congruent, true statements in this whole R. Kelly thing. But the first thing I would like to say is, because there's been a lot of deflection, there's been a lot of, like you said, a lot of caping. People have been going Superman, Superwoman for Robert Kelly. So I'm gonna say this to my brothers. There are no buts in this situation. There are none. As a grown man, there should be no instance where a child should be able to persuade you, or a young girl should be able to persuade you to do anything that you're not supposed to be doing. The buck stops with you, no matter how persuasive or how she looks or what she says. There should be no instance where, as a grown man, you are disarmed or you feel helpless in the face of a young girl. I can't accept that, and it can't be accepted if we're going to talk about this issue. There's been way too much victim blaming, way too much deflecting of that very simple truth. Without his interaction or his culpability, this is not discussion, and there's nothing to talk about in this instance. So that has to be addressed first and foremost. As far as everything else goes, I think that it's a horrible situation, and I think that a lot of men are triggered, unfortunately, because they or their friends were doing the same thing when they were younger, or even now.
Yeah.
I guess for me, I had to break it down and look at different things. One of the things that is constantly coming up, oh, he was a victim too. Mm-hmm. Well, yes, he was a victim.
Right.
And we are going to acknowledge the fact that he was a victim, but it's still, in being a victim, he had no choice.
Right.
But to abuse, he had a choice.
Exactly.
So those are two separate things that we have to look at and saying, yes, he was a victim, but this sends the message that victims become abusers, and I think we need to change that narrative.
Yes, yes.
And I also feel like every time we talk about men becoming victims of sexual abuse, it's in response to a man abusing someone, whether it's a child or a female. Right. And I think we need to cut that out too. Yeah. Because now we're sending the message that if you were, the only time that if you were abused, it's going to lead you not only to abuse, but it's going to lead you to pedophilia. Right. And those narratives are not true, because what's happening is it's silencing those who want to come forth. Right. And so when someone says the statement like, why now? Why do they want to come forth? The truth of the matter is, if you've ever been in a situation like that, the victim spends more time blaming themselves anyway. Yeah. They have some spend years blaming themselves before they can get the courage enough to say, hold on, this is not my fault. No, I am a victim. Right. Yeah. And then address it. The last thing somebody needs to hear is why now.
Right.
And then the other thing that comes up, well, we knew about this 20-something years ago. Well, let's be honest. When he was married to Aaliyah, who was 15, I was 15.
Right.
Me and Aaliyah the same age. My 15-year-old mind didn't process, oh, something is wrong with that. Yeah. My 15-year-old mind was processing, wow, she got it made and she got a rich husband.
Yeah, yeah.
You just didn't think about that. And now that I'm older, I do understand that it's wrong. And I need to speak out about it. It was wrong then. I just didn't know.
Right.
But now I know. And the sad part is, because I didn't know, I was sitting there playing 12 Play. My favorite album of his was Chocolate Factory. You know, and it was because I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But now I understand, because now it's 20-something years later. I understand that it is wrong, and we got to address that. So what frustrates me more than anything is stop coupling everything.
Right.
Yes, it's phases to this, but the problem is, in this instance, is the women that were abused. The same thing my brother was saying.
Yeah.
We're talking about the women that were abused. Once the women once we address the fact that he was abused and we deal with that judgment,
right,
then we can move on to the fact that he was abused. Yeah. Then we can move on to the other instances. I just feel like we sometimes reach and we combine things to satisfy, I think, our own guilt. I think that, yes, it's true that it may be some other people who are victims.
Yeah.
And admitting that he did that will also admit that they are victims.
Yeah.
But I also feel like it brings up other issues because abuse always hits home.
Right.
So it may be other people that they're connected to. But the thing about it is, it's so layered, and we gotta stop layering things and coupling it all together and then expecting a person to address every single issue. It's impossible. Yeah. At this juncture, we're dealing with the fact that women were abused.
Right.
Yeah. At this juncture, we also are dealing with the fact, got a phone call 2 nights ago, talked to a dear friend. And one of the things that she talked about in frustration is, why is it that women are nurtured to always defend and take care of a man?
Right.
But why is it that women are always treated like a tool or a service? Prime example, girl, I gotta go home. My man waiting for me.
Right.
Man, I gotta go home. My wife cooked dinner.
Yeah. Yeah.
We don't think about it,
Yeah.
but we don't realize it's ingrained in us to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I got a whole segue for that.
And we do make excuses a lot of times, and I think that this is another example of people making excuses. They're making excuses for R. Kelly because it's ingrained in us to do, but they also are victim blaming. There is no such thing as a fast female.
Yep. No, there isn't.
Because at the end of the day, it's a choice and you do what you want to do. And so I'm going to leave that alone because I started getting too passionate about it. Mm-hmm. And I done spent too much time talking about R. Kelly because I really didn't want to.
Yeah.
But it was here. What you want to say?
Well, what I wanted to say too, why now is different from then too, because you do look at how young we were when all that was first happening.
Yep.
But now people are so opinionated, especially with social media. There is always now a bigger cry out for something. So like I remember when not when he first was accused, but I had stopped listening to his music when I had children, like when I had especially when I had a daughter, and I was like, wait a minute. And I would hear the allegations, and I was like, you know, I'm not rocking with R. Kelly since way back then.
Right.
And matter of fact, the 8th grade graduation song was "I Believe I Could Fly," which is most people's story. I was mad, but because we don't have the voice. We have a voice collectively. We don't have a voice individually. So I remember saying it in my house. I was like I'm not listening to R. Kelly. Well, my husband at the time was an R. Kelly fan. So why would we get in an argument in my house about R. Kelly? Now, neither one of us knows R. Kelly. Can't neither one of us go issue a warrant for R. Kelly. So it's a dead issue. So imagine that multiplied by house. That's why it's never dealt with, because you're hoping the people close to him are dealing with him.
Right.
We can't deal with him. We don't know him.
Yeah.
But now, because of the Me Too and everything else that's going on, we have a way to spread our outrage a lot faster and and bigger movements than we used to be.
Yes.
So now is why it's not a good time for him.
Right.
Yeah.
What Charlie D. Washington said, I haven't spoken on it, but we can't just blame him for the abuse. Well, let's clarify that. We can't blame him for his abuse.
Right.
But we can blame him for who he abused.
Exactly.
So, yes, so it's two different types of abuse that we're looking at. And yes, what he did to other women, that is his fault.
That's absolutely.
That was a choice. Now, we do understand that some people say, well, what if they lied about their age? Well, these are not women that lied about their age.
Right.
These are women that he actually knew. And then we're not just talking about the young women. We're talking about adult women that he also abused. I think we zone in on just one thing. No, he was basically like an equal opportunity abuser.
Right.
If it was a female, he got him. So, yes, he didn't have control over his abuse, but he did have control over the ones he chose to abuse.
And that's why I said, too, there are a bunch of true statements in this instance that are true at the same time. Yes, he was abused. Yes, there were some girls that they may have came from broken homes. But the fact still remains, the other true statement, the biggest one, is that he was an adult man dealing with young, mostly underage girls. Yeah. So that there's a lot of true statements, but that is the truest, most important statement right there. All of these things can be true, but that is the point. That's the biggest.
And when people keep saying, well, what about so-and-so? I want you to get them all.
Right, right.
But right now, we're talking about R. Kelly, but that doesn't negate whatever nationality you want to talk about, ethnicity, it doesn't matter. Go get them all.
Right.
His abusers, go get them too if you got, whatever. It doesn't say, well, stop looking at him because we didn't look at the other ones. Look at them all. Go get them all.
Right.
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. And people bring up Harvey Weinstein and all this other stuff. And not to derail, there have been documentaries and stuff about him as well. They just aren't been publicized. So people are talking about all these things at the same time, or they have been previously. Just right now, though, we're talking about R. Kelly.
Okay, and one more comment. Oh, Deanna said, say it again for the peanut gallery. Charlie D said, but his music has nothing to do with his decisions.
Go ahead.
I disagree because one of the things that I felt most convicted by is when I read the lyrics for Vibe.
Right.
And when he said, cute little Aaliyah got that vibe, and that was in 92. And that was written by not only him, but Aaliyah's uncle. And both men thought that was appropriate to say after he fully and explicitly described and defined what vibe is, yes, his music came from his personal life experiences, his motivation, his muse. And if his muse was abusing women, then it's directly linked to his music.
Yeah.
And you said you wanted to address that, and I really want to get off this topic because he's taking up too much of my time.
So, this will just be the last thing I'll say on is that, you know, there have been quite a few people who said separate the artist from the person or separate the music from the person. And I'll say this, especially for R. Kelly, without the music, without his art, you don't even know him. His art is how he reached everyone. Without that, he's just some guy living in Chicago, he's just some guy living in Chicago who was on the block or doing whatever. Yeah. But without his music, without his art, you don't know who he is. No one really knows him at all.
Yeah. He's profiting from his crimes.
Right. So, that's how he reached everybody. That is how he got his access. That's how he got his fame, his wealth. So he is his art. He is his music. So that is a very hollow, really, defense of him.
Yeah, adding to that layer, someone wanted to make sure that we address and add to that consent, complicit parties, behavior, appropriate accountability.
All right, let's get to it.
My whole take on all of this is once you become knowledgeable of something, then you have the ownership of that.
That's correct.
Regardless if the parents brought them to a concert or not. Right. Yes, you could say that's poor parenting, or you could say that's great parenting. Don't care.
Right.
But if the parent didn't say, here, sleep with my child and open the child up, you can't blame the parents.
Right.
And once a person knows the age of a child, it is a choice and it is a decision from that moment forward. So I don't understand why this is even a conversation.
Yep.
It's completely frustrating because at the end of the day, it tells us a lot of things. It's not even about, it just lets you know how many people may have been abused and have been conditioned to think it's okay, especially our women when it comes to certain things, because one of the things that I've discovered on this path to end misogyny is that you have misogynistic women. Yep. And so you're like, no, we're doing this to help you. Yeah. And they make you feel like you're not supposed to. So it's like there is so many layers to this abuse. And again, I just don't want to spend that much time talking about R. Kelly. Yeah. Talking about what we know is wrong, and I think we all agree it's just wrong.
Right.
We all agree that yes, he was a victim, but we all agree that he should do the crime for it. Maybe we should have had somebody who was pro R. Kelly, but I think a lot of us are just pro right.
Right. Yeah.
It has nothing to do with R. Kelly personally. What bothers me more than anything is the uncaught R. Kellys, because that's what people comparing it to. What about this? Or what about this? Or my dad did this, or my granddaddy did this. See, now you're telling your own family business and then get mad if people judge, but you put it out there.
Right.
Don't put the business out there. Don't put it out there if you don't want people to do it. We have to separate all of that. Yes. He was abused. But yes, he did abuse. Punishment for what he abused, not punishment, but help and therapy for when he was abused.
Exactly.
Let's see. Deanna said, I love how we all point the finger at others instead of ourselves. We all have behaviors that we need counseling for or need to heal from, but it's easier to judge someone else instead of just praying for his bones being exposed and working on their own. You can separate the two, my wife said. And Lolita said, right, little brother. Shauna said, exactly. Lori Jones said, victims need to speak up. The process is not easy, but victims need to speak up. I agree. I definitely agree with that. This made me think about something, Tara. As a woman, how does it make you feel when men put the onus on the teenage girl or even the women, they call them gold diggers, or they trying to make some money, or how does it make you feel as a woman hearing that from men?
Angry is a good word.
Yeah.
It's a calm anger though, because it's a calm anger only because most women, I think we can agree, these conversations trigger memories that we forgot about. And we were like, dang, that was inappropriate. Like, and you start running through your mind all the times where you didn't say anything because either it was a brief incident or you, by the grace, escaped the incident. We survive more than we tell.
Right.
Because it's just, so you put yourself in a place of, but if I was that age, we can easily remember when we got offended by a man that didn't look good, that we didn't want touching us. But think about when he was cute. You thought about it for a minute. You was impressed. It was still inappropriate, people. It didn't matter if it was somebody who had the nice car versus somebody who didn't have the nice car. It didn't matter if it was the creepy old man at McDonald's or, the fine older man working in the clothing store. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We have to stop giving it exceptions. So, a lot of my friends and a lot of people on social media are being triggered. I mean, I was even triggered. I had to think back. I was like, oh yeah, that reminded me of the time I had this substitute teacher that used to make me cringe. Every time I walked into class, he was behind the desk because he was inappropriate with me all the time.
Yeah.
Besides just the looks and the stares, and at first you think you're going crazy, like he's not really doing. He must be doing that to everybody. It's like, oh no, I'm being targeted.
Yeah.
Like when I was handing him a piece of paper, homework paper. He didn't grab the paper. He grabbed my hand and grabbed the paper. I remember that vividly now because I've been triggered. I forgot that mess.
Yeah.
So, now it makes me angry because I do have a teenage daughter and I'm hoping and praying no fool ever, was inappropriate with her and she didn't tell me. She usually tells me everything.
Yeah.
But these incidents happen so commonly.
Right.
So that's why I'm glad we're, on Brothers Empowerment talking about that, because y'all need to check yourselves and y'all's brothers, because the young girls do not know how to do it. It's not our place to do it. We're talking about the men should be protectors of the village and the community. It starts with the person sitting right next to you. If somebody in your class told you that story, oh my God, like he keeps staring at me. It's like, girl, you're not that fine. Like, whatever, you're tripping.
Yeah.
We don't feel safe telling, our brothers what happened to us because we get that reaction. So all of this stuff going on with R. Kelly, your sisters are watching. They're listening to you. Your daughters hear you. Saying, well, you know what, they just trying to get his money, man. And your daughter probably want to tell you your homeboy sitting next to the couch was talking to her. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Y'all got to stop putting, like you said, all these layers on things. Listen to the person. Everybody can't be making up the same story.
Yeah.
Deanna said we need to create an environment that makes it easy for victims to speak up, which we agree.
Yeah.
ATC said angry, echoing how you felt.
Yeah.
And she said, say so, supporting what you were talking about later. And Lori talked about it's never too late. And Lolita talked about true terror, suppressed memories. And Shauna said, amen, and say it again. A lot of people don't understand that in America is the number 10th most dangerous place for women in the entire world.
Yep.
Women are victims of homicide. It's usually some type of homicide or sexual violence was the top in that. And a lot of people don't realize that it's happening. For one, it's the 10th most dangerous place in the world, but for women of color, it's even higher.
Right. Yep.
We have people who are missing, young ladies who will go missing. I think it averaged about 2,500 women that go missing a year. That they don't even know what is happening to them.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when we talk about, I'm gonna ask you this question: do you trust men?
As a whole, unfortunately, no. And it's because one of experience. And I pride myself on being on the stronger end of the spectrum.
Right.
I will snap off in a minute. I'll be very defensive very easily when I see something that's not right. But we're always looking for what's the ulterior motive.
Right.
Like, if you're too nice, why are you being too nice? You're saying you just want to be friends, but I know that you're not just trying to be friends. Like, what do you want? So we're always, just from a young age, because we're taught to be on guard. And unfortunately, it's because there's been a lot of creeps, around us. And we've seen a lot of things. If it wasn't happening to us, it was happening to our girls, So unfortunately, that's why even it hasn't changed. It's gotten worse over the decades. You know, now we got damsel in defense. You know, we walking around with stun guns and mace.
Yeah,
it's
right.
a real. You know, I'm walking out here. People be like, "You scared?" I'm like, "No, because I'm ready for some stuff."
Yeah,
you know, I practice in my mind ways to defend myself against an unknown, and so no, we don't trust men initially. Like, you gotta kind of like earn that, and even then, it's like, and it's so damaging when we do trust. And what we suspected happens. It's like, you know, even in business, because that was also something I want to talk about. It's like, what are the motives? You know, our version of support is not the same version of support, unfortunately, for most men. And it's real. It's just, I don't even know how to begin to address that, because there's no way for it to get nipped in the bud. It's just it's terrible. I don't even know. I don't even know what lane is safe. I don't even know what lane to say is safe. You actually
talked about several different things, and I do want to address them in order. I know you can chime in. The very first thing that you talked about is what I heard was social responsibility as a family. If you really think about it, when you said you told your neighbor or your classmate that the teacher was hitting on you, and their response is, "Girl, you're not that fine."
Yeah,
but I was.
The sad part is, I remember saying things like that. And so when I hear people say, "Well, all men are not like that," yes, all men may not intentionally mean to do harm, but we have to accept the fact that there are some things that are ingrained in us. And we think that it was appropriate, but it really wasn't. I remember when I was 14 years old, this girl was really into me. And I just wasn't into her. And I remember saying, "I just want to be your friend." And she was like, "Well, what do you mean?" "I just want to be your friend. I don't want anything from you. I do like being around you, but I'm not into you sexually or anything like that." And she broke down crying.
It's a totally alien concept.
Right. She broke down crying and she said, "Nobody has ever just been my friend." And I remember saying from that day forward, I'm going to try to always be a friend to somebody. So they can never say they don't have a friend, because that hurt me. And so when you think about it now, it's funny because I just thought about that now. That probably was a precursor to Love is a Parable. If you really think about it. But the one thing that we have to do as brothers is not spend so much time talking about is not you, because it's not about the exclusive you as much as it's about the inclusive us. And there are behaviors that we see, there are things that we laugh at that are not funny. And I will say, like, the reason why I have a problem with fast girl and all of that, I am the father of 2 girls. And there is no so-and-so is coming over, put on clothes. No, if you got on shorts, you're fine because it's your house. And if I feel like this person is inappropriate, this person shouldn't come to the house. So it wouldn't be no put on clothes as we chilling. And for that very reason, I'm raising my children to be confident in their bodies and to know that they're protected, and understanding that, no, I'm not changing our life to appease somebody who's temporary, and we're a permanent fixture in each other's lives. And it's just those simple things of saying just simple things like, "You're a lady, go put some clothes on." So men can walk around without clothes. That's what you're saying. So it's a lot of those things that we think are okay, but they could be damaging, and we're not even thinking about it because our intent is not to cause harm. And so that's the thing about it. We talked about it last show.
Intention versus outcome.
Intention versus outcome. Even though you didn't intend to hurt someone, that still doesn't negate the fact that you hurt someone.
Exactly.
What you was about to say, brother?
Well, all of that was excellent. First of all, that's what I want to say. Now, to add on to that, I will say, like Jay said, a lot of brothers, unfortunately, they internalize the accountability portion of what we're doing, and they take it as an attack. And that happens in certain instances. Accountability is hard for some people to accept. So when we're talking to our brothers and we're having conversations, I get frustrated myself, because when you're talking to brothers and you say, just like you said, women don't trust men inherently. As a whole, women do not trust men. When you say that to brothers, the first thing that a lot of them want to say is, "Well, it's the men they're hanging around," or "It's not me," and this and that. It's like, no, we are a whole. As men, we are a whole. You know, I consider us, we're all brothers. So for me to be better for my brother and vice versa, we have to hold each other accountable. I expect Jay to call me out on any and everything that I do that's not right, and I expect that he expects the same. Sorry, and tongue-tied. I expect that he expects the same. So as men, we have to hold each other accountable, and we have to have those hard conversations with one another and say, hey, this stuff that we've been taught since we were young, or that's been passed down to us, that's not right. How you speak to women, how you interact with women, that's not right. What you did wasn't right. And unfortunately, a lot of brothers take that as an attack, and when I talk to my brothers, I'd say, no, it's not an attack. I'm telling you because I want you to be better. Yeah. I want us to be better. Because we have to be a community. And we can't be a community if women are always second-guessing what we're doing and they don't even know us or anything like that.
Well, it's just like some people say simple things like, oh, you just too hard, or you're trying to be, you too uptight and stuff like that. No, sometimes stuff is not funny. Like for me, gay jokes are not funny. Yeah. I was molested at 11, so anything remotely you picking at gay or calling something gay, that's not funny to me. Right. And it's not appropriate anyway, so it's like we gotta stop thinking, oh well, it was just fun and games. It's not fun and games if you're damaging somebody. Right. Okay. And even though it's innocent, it's an innocent intent that caused an innocent damage. Right. That could be collateral. And so we gotta stop that defending the I and think about the we. Yeah. I do want to touch on, let me see. ATC said that mental self-defense rehearsal is real. She was talking in response to what you were talking about. Shauna said, totally agree. And hold on, we got a lot of comments. Great day. ATC said that thank you, Unc. We do it like that in her house too. So great. Yeah. Good household. Shauna said she agreed with Cordell. ATC said exactly, CG. Benjamin said, all right, set up and background. Look out now. Reginald said, hello, my brothers. ATC said, I'm sorry that it happened to you. Don't worry, I think that it happened to me to give a voice to those who don't have one. I can tell you another thing that happened, and I talked to Cordell about it. A brother reached out to us because he's interested in brother empowerment and know that we have things coming up. Yeah. And we've talked about the cookout and stuff like that. And the brother said, well, are gay men allowed to come? And I said, why would you even ask me that? Yeah. He was like, well, when in the past, when there's brother empowerment, it excludes gay men. Mm-hmm. And the very first thing that I said was, at the end of the day, your sexual orientation has nothing to do with that, because it's not a dating game. Yeah. What it's about us coming together, and you a brother. Yeah. Regardless of your orientation, you are a brother. And we need to right now just come together to know that there is love, because there is a love deficiency. Mm-hmm. The way that we talk to one another, the way that we respond to trauma, the way that we respond to abuse is a clear sign that there is love deficiency. Mm-hmm. And so the last thing we need to do is look for reasons not to come together. Yeah. 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 Because there's so many reasons why we should.
Just recently, I was having a business conversation. Lovely woman, has a very nice organization, all of that. And in the middle of it, because she's, just starting out, she actually said, and I could tell like she was starting to cower a little bit, and she mentioned that she has a girlfriend. Yeah. And I had to have a serious, like, first of all, that's nobody's business. Right. Right. Right, yeah. But you have to be confident. The fact that people feel so damaged and so like they're going to be attacked for just being them is really kind of sick. Yeah. No, it really is. Yeah. It's really sick.
And when we get divisive like that and we shut out portions of the community, it really weakens us as a whole.
It really does.
Because we have people who come from all walks of life and different kinds of orientations that have great things to add to the community. Right. And we cut them out for superficial reasons, it doesn't do anything positive.
And the way when it's superficial and it's really ridiculous is if you wouldn't ask that same question in a crisis. Yeah. So if the loved one is bleeding to death and the doctor walks up, are you asking, hey, are you gay?
Right.
What's your religion?
Yep.
You're not asking any of these questions because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So if you can't take those same thoughts and apply them no matter how it benefits you, because that's what it is. It all depends on how it's benefiting me today. So I'm going to accept it, I'm not going to accept it, what group I'm with, I'm against it, I'm for it. Be consistent.
Yeah.
And the way to be consistent is to stop the isms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Stop
In the
negative.
negativisms.
That's right. That's correct.
I will say this in a lot of things that people don't talk about. Every 30 seconds, a child is molested. It's 1 in 2 women have been victims of sexual abuse, sexual assault. 1 in 6 men are victims of sexual abuse, sexual assault. But the problem with that is that's based off of what was reported.
Right. Exactly.
As you can see, even going back to R. Kelly's situation and all of that, is that those are 2 brothers who didn't report it.
Yeah.
I didn't report my situation because I didn't talk about it until I was 21, 22. So there are several situations that are happening that are not reported. So if every 30 seconds it's known that a child or a person is sexually assaulted, imagine what it would be if everybody came forth. Right. But here is the thing. I say this to say, we all have internal wars that we're fighting every day.
Yep.
And the last thing we need is to find another reason to separate. Because if people are so passionate saying it's things that are stacking up against us, move the stack.
Yep. Yeah.
We are putting, a lot of times we're putting the stack in front of us and then saying, see, it's a lot of things, but a lot of them things we put there. It is a problem that we have a brother who needs to be empowered, who feels like he can't be empowered because of something that happens in his bedroom.
Right. Right.
It's a problem that we have brothers who need to be empowered, but they don't know how to come forth to even have a decent conversation. They're still sending messages because they don't know how to have a heart-filled conversation publicly. That's a problem.
Yeah. It's a huge problem.
There's a problem that we live in a country that is supposed to be the land of the free, the big brother, the best brother, but we are failing our sisters because it's the 10th most dangerous place in the world. And it's the men who are attacking the women. So when they say it's not us, it is us.
Exactly.
We're the ones who are making it dangerous. And so we have to start looking at this thing from a higher level and saying we have to be part of that change.
Yeah.
Give you another women's perspective. Ladies, chime in if you agree or get this. But also, we say that we don't tell what happened because no one believes us. Sometimes, because some of us have very strong men, very loving men around us. It's not that we don't tell them because we blame ourselves. We know exactly what y'all are going to do. So we protect our fathers. We're like, if I tell my dad that he touched me, my dad's going to prison. So we have that. That's another thing that needs to be looked at, is creating a culture where when we tell you something happens, we're now not fearful we're going to lose even more. We're not going to lose the men that love us because they will protect us. A lot of these responses go from, oh, I'm rocking with R. Kelly to I'm going to kill him. Yeah. There's no one rational in between. Yeah. And that's part of what's missing, is that comfortability to be able to tell you, and we don't now lose our protectors. We don't now lose the men that we love because they will.
Which goes back into that women sacrificing themselves as a service to be a protection.
Yep.
And it's true.
Well, here's the thing, and I'll say this, like, I don't talk about my faith a lot because I just don't like putting a whole bunch of stuff in there. But I remember it's one study, I had to look it up to make sure I remembered it correctly. It's the story of Abner and Tamar. And I'll just tell you, Tamar and Abner were brother and sister. But Tamar was so beautiful that Abner played sick. So when she came in there, he raped her. And so here's one thing that happened. So she ran and told her brother Absalom about this, and he avenged her, which was fine. But here's the part that I have a problem with. He told her to go away and don't talk about it again. And she became a desolate woman. That's what happens. We feel like because I beat somebody up or I kill someone or I I dealt with the problem that took away the trauma.
Right. Multiplied it.
Right. And by telling somebody don't talk about it, we tell people that, like, stop talking about it. Don't bring, no, talk about it. Like, I'll tell you this, like, my wife lost her mom in 2010. And my wife still talks about it, and sometimes she apologizes, like, I know you're tired of hearing it. I'm not tired of hearing you talk about something that you're going through. And if it's new to you, it's fresh. It's a new moment. It's a new experience. Talk about it. We gotta stop silencing people.
Right.
We gotta stop telling people to stop talking about their issue. We gotta stop telling people to get over it.
Yep. Yeah.
It's so funny to me. Black people hate when white people tell them to get over slavery, but we tell our people to get over so many things.
Family members that have been traumatized. Yeah.
And we gotta keep talking about it and having a conversation about it, having a conversation about the same thing. Guess what? It creates a culture where it's okay to talk.
Right. Yep. Yeah. If talking about it, among other things, is the way that it helps you process that pain, that trauma, or even come to a place where you're, I'll use the words, at peace with yourself or whatnot, you should be able to revisit as many times as you need to. And the people that care about you, or people that say they care about you, should, if you want them to, should be able to be on that journey with you and to just listen.
Benjamin said, this goes back to slavery. This isn't new. It's crazy how we've been made to be victims, but now we can no longer be the victim. The wounds haven't healed. They're still there.
Yeah.
I actually feel like it goes back further than slavery. I think that that's only the trauma here in America.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is there are people all around the world who share similar pain that lets you know that it's a greater issue.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is just, it ties into what our problem is as a culture and a people. We didn't start at slavery.
Right.
Our story doesn't start there. And the fact that is our hurt point.
Yeah.
So everything we tie back to that, whether it's good or it's bad, we were great before that.
Right.
We have a history before that. We were humans before that.
Yeah.
You know, this is not something exclusive to any one group. This is a human problem. And the fact that we get tied into thinking that is where our pinpoint is.
Yeah.
We start from a place of hurt regardless.
Right.
And so we have to move past that. It's like, that's not our history. That's not our complete history.
Right.
You know, that's the American history.
And I will say this, equally as we talk about all the damage that is done to our sisters that come from men, I do want to take that opportunity to also talk about that there is damage that we face. There are social constructs, we don't even know how they're established, but we have to live by them. I mean, like a good example, it's okay for my wife to be a housewife, but it's not okay for me to be a house husband.
Yep.
There is this unexplainable pressure to always be in a competition. Who got the biggest house? Who got the nicest car? Who got the most money? Who got the prettiest woman? Who got the best family? It's always something.
Yeah.
And I think that, brothers, if we just encourage one another enough to know that it's not a competition.
Yeah.
I'm not in a competition with anyone. I want you to succeed. I want you to be the best you that is humanly possible. And if I can help you, I'm going to genuinely try to help you.
Yep.
And so one of the things that we have to do in talking about intention is talk about your intention.
Yeah.
Don't do something that may be perceived inappropriately. Say, hey, I'm really trying to help you and I was thinking about, or I should do, because what might help you might be offensive to me and maybe indifferent to you. So we have to have that open conversation and talk about it. I wrote a blog that says, Daddy, where are you? It's a shame that men go into secret, be like, hey, don't tell nobody this. And the stuff that they tell is stuff that we just share as men every day.
Yeah.
But they feel like that's so. And so when women say, y'all need to talk more, it's amazing how social constructs restrict us in communicating. And we think common stuff that you guys can talk about, it's like secretive to us. So imagine the deep, deep, deep secrets.
Yeah.
We have to create a place and a purpose and a culture where it's okay to just have a conversation and to let them know, like, brother, I love you. I don't have anything against you. I just want to see you succeed. So you don't think that I'm coming as an opponent. Yeah. I'm actually coming as a teammate. Yeah. We got a lot of comments. Go ahead, say yours. Go say it.
No, I'll read Tori's comment.
Well, you got Derek's above that one.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say I'll read Tori's comment when you get to it. You can read the
Okay. Derek said, what may be a small issue to one is a big issue to someone else. Agreed.
Yeah.
Learning to listen is a powerful tool and skill that many lack, you know, and he said mindset.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks that listen to reply versus listen to comprehend.
And my wife then came in as, come on, evangelist. Let me stop. She, anybody who wanted to read the story, it's in 2 Samuel chapter 13. And then you said you wanted to read Tori's?
Yeah, so you don't have to read all the comments.
Okay,
but,
go ahead.
Tori said, I actually used to be one of those men who had a hard time believing women that were victims of sexual assault. I would question why they didn't come forward when it happened and so on. What put things in perspective for me was when my mom and wife told me they were victims of sexual assault in the past. It was then I realized how problematic my thinking was. I didn't believe it until it hit close to home, and that's wrong. So there's a lot of things there. Yeah, that's... Tori, that is a reality for a lot of brothers, and there's a lot of things in there. Like Jay said, there's a lot of stuff compacted in. So I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna pull them out one by one. So, yeah, a lot of men trivialize, a lot of brothers trivialize the actual sexual assault as well as the topic of it and everything. I mean, you have comedians who make jokes about it. That's some of their routine, or they have sexual assault drugs. There have been plenty of comedians who have been under fire for doing that, and they say, oh, whatever, man, it's just, like you said, Jay, it's just a joke, man. I was just being funny. So a lot of brothers trivialize that because it hasn't happened to them, and two, excuse me, it hasn't happened to anyone that they know. And when it does, that's when things change. I had an ex-girlfriend who told me about, her previous experiences with sexual assault. And while I didn't trivialize it, it really, like Tori said, it hit home because I had never known anyone who it happened to explicitly.
You're right.
And so that definitely changes the dynamic of it. It changes everything. And unfortunately, that's the only way that some brothers really change their thinking about it, is that happens to me. They've experienced it themselves, or they talk to someone who's dear to them who experiences it. And it has to change, because waiting for that to happen to everybody or all the brothers in the world is going to take centuries, or it may even never happen. And so the change needs to happen without that.
You just made me think about something that I don't know why you made me think about this, but it was something that my brother said to me. My older brother, Rodney White, he got this wonderful movement about black on black. Mm-hmm. It's called Black on Black, and it's several different sayings about the beauty of being black. Mm-hmm. And it came at a point where he realized that we compare our beauty based off of whiteness. Mm-hmm. And we talk about race as if it's always a bad thing, but it really isn't. Mm-hmm. Being a black person, being a person of color, being an African American is not a curse. It's actually a wonderful thing.
Right.
And the interesting thing is, it's more white people who push black on black, mm-hmm. because they understand that I need to give a voice to this issue. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that my brother was talking about when I was becoming extremely successful, and this stayed with me, he told me this when I was like 28 years old. Good things are supposed to happen to good people.
Right.
We have been conditioned to believe that it's too good to be true. Mm-hmm. So when good people come in our lives, mm-hmm. we sabotage those relationships. We push them away. Mm-hmm. We question who they are. But it's amazing how we keep damaging people in our lives because they give us a sense of comfort. Mm. And so what I want to say is, good things are supposed to happen to you. You're a good person. Mm-hmm. And good people are going to come, and you're going to continue to attract good people, and you're going to continue to inspire mm-hmm. and motivate people to move in a different way. I get this a lot of times as a love advocate. People scrutinize my intention. They think I have ulterior motives, and I'm like, nah, you don't really have anything that I want. I'm like, no. But it's amazing how so many people don't understand love, don't know how to respond to love. So a lot of times they look at things as if it's something damaging, and it's not.
Yep.
So we have to make sure that we're breaking down them walls. And when I say this, is that some people put up walls to protect themselves, but they also become prisons.
Yep.
And so we want to make sure that when we approach a wall, don't hit it with a sledgehammer. Like, Terry, you need to break down your wall. No, find the door. Find the door, walk in, and talk to people, because we all have something that we're hurting from. We all have a story or a challenge that we have to overcome.
Absolutely.
And the truth of the matter is we need each other.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let me see. Are there any more comments?
No, nothing right now. I did want to, since we're in this vein, I did want to. There's a topic that I did want to discuss.
Okay.
That one topic was just communication. Our brothers communicating with women in general, and when I say that, I mean I was talking to a sister via Facebook. She had messaged me, and she was saying how in certain groups that she's in and whatnot, in certain spaces online, she gets very casually disrespected by brothers, and and when she brings it up, not even in a way that that is attacking, but just a way of saying, hey, you offended me or you disrespected me. It's like it's a trigger, and the brothers go even harder. No, I didn't.
They really do. Yeah. So, because that was one of the topics that I wanted to talk about. When we were talking about this whole blanket of protection that, some men now feel there's an uprising to say that we need to protect our sisters, which has never not been the case. Right. But even in business, when we're, once again, trying to figure out the ulterior motives, and then we do that trust thing, the disrespect is insane dealing with our brothers in business, because it's equal as long as, it's fair for them. But as soon as you have a challenge or speak up for yourself, or you feel like, hey, this is getting kind of crazy, the pushback is ridiculous. It's like they double down on the disrespect. Like they're trying to break you. And of course, me being me, I've walked away from business relationships that made no sense to anyone else. And I look crazy, but I'm like, I'm not going to be disrespected, especially not at this level. Right. Especially not in this lane. Like this is my lane. You were in it, we were working together, but then for some reason, that crazy thing happens where I don't know if it's a control issue, it's a practice behavior where they can devalue you just like that. So then that just increases our not trusting, especially when we're in business or anything else. It's like, okay, we're supposed to be grown professionals now, and you're still pulling this high school mentality where you think your job is to break me. And
I will say this too. You made me think about two things. I hate the rebuttal. It's just social media. Well, if it's just social media, people wouldn't be getting fired off of their jobs because it's just social media. If it's just social media, people wouldn't be discovered and getting brand new jobs off of social media. If it was just social media, we wouldn't make friends and we wouldn't connect with people like we do. This is a result of social media. So it is more than that. And people was like, what's the big deal? It is a huge deal because it is part of our life. Whether you do it for entertainment or not, you never know what door will open through social media, and you never know what door will close through social media. The next thing is what a lot of people don't realize, and they use it wrong. Have you ever noticed anything of worth value is always identified as a female?
Your cars, your boats,
Mother Earth, your money, your wisdom, love, happiness, kindness. And guess what a lot of people don't even know? Even your little religious folks, the Holy Spirit is a woman. So what you fail to realize is, guys, we value them. We just forgot. And so that's why we pay homage to the woman by calling all these things of value a woman. But now we got to acknowledge that value now. We got to make sure that we say, you know what? Why is wisdom considered a woman? Why is earth considered a woman? Why is the moon considered a woman? Because it keeps us balanced. You know what I mean? And so when we talk about gender roles and all of that, let's acknowledge certain things that are. anything that of value, we've always related it to a woman.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that we call a value, which can be on the flip side, we really call a man, because we have to fight for those things that are valued.
Yeah.
So that means we have to fight for our sisters, defend our sisters, even against us sometimes. Meaning, it may be somebody you're very close to that says or does something inappropriate, and who would be better to talk to them about it than a stranger?
Yeah.
You already know, so why not have that conversation and say, Cordell, that was kind of messed up what you said to so and so. Don't just take his back because he's your friend or he's your brother. Mm-hmm. No, say it. Just say it.
Because I've had true story, like my younger brother and his friends or whatever. There was an entire pregnancy. Mm-hmm. The girl was entirely pregnant. Said who the daddy was. The boys went hard for him. Mm-hmm. That ain't his baby. You ain't even cute. He wouldn't mess with you. Y'all wasn't there. Yeah. Of course, DNA test, whole daddy.
Yep.
But y'all go so hard for stuff y'all know nothing about. Yeah. Just because the men bond together like that. And it's like, oh my goodness.
And I'm going to say this.
Illogical.
If we're perfectly honest, it's not even real bonding. It's external bonding. We bond on the sake of saying we're men, but we know absolutely nothing about each other. And we got to change that, because if we knew more about each other, we could help one another.
Yeah.
And there are certain things that we can get to, like, it's a lot of brothers that say, you know more about me than people who have known me my whole life. Mm-hmm. And that's because we need to talk to one another and not talk at one another. We need to read these comments, and we got 3 minutes. Yeah. Let's see. The hour goes by fast, don't it?
Super fast. Super fast.
It ain't just social media. Respect is respect, no matter which medium. We agree.
Oh yeah,
we definitely agree.
I totally agree.
Charlie D said, "Say that," but we don't know what you was talking about. Say that too, but we be like, "Yes, sister, we gonna say it." Shauna said, "Put your weight on it now." You speaking? I don't know what she talking about, but yes, ma'am.
I think she was talking when you were saying that everything of value we refer to inherently as we give it the tendency or woman.
Oh, okay.
Woman-like tendencies or references.
I got you. And then ATC said you shook some folk at their core with valuable things getting referred to as a woman.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
And shout out to about A. Okay, so this is the time. What do you want to leave for the people? Of course, something positive, something good, something to help them.
There's so much.
There's good in you.
There's plenty of good in me. All this inspiration I'm doing these days. But I just want go back and listen to this whole thing if you joined in late or you have time to go digest it. But I would just like them to make a change. Mm-hmm. And it starts with the women that are around you. We have a tendency to give value to women who are on TV or elevated. The sister right next to you who's an entrepreneur that just needs your assistance, or you're okay or you're not. You can't be champion Beyonce and her billions, and you got a sister trying to make a business, and you're like, I don't even know why you're wasting your time doing that, or getting in her way.
Yep.
So start with the women right next to you. Figure out how you can help them. And notice when something's wrong. If you say something to a woman and her face changes, you need to reevaluate what you just said. And don't brush it off. Address it and do better.
Brother?
I would just like to say, as I say at every Brother Empowerment, the first thing I would say is, brothers, be open. Be open to honest criticism. Be open to having conversations with one another. Be open to being accountable. That is one of the best things that we can do for our community and for our sisters. And also to say on the topic of today's Brother Empowerment, I will say, like Tara said, start with the women that are closer to you, with evaluating your interactions with them and reevaluating how you speak to them and other women. There's always room for improvement, and I guarantee even myself, I have offended women before, and I've had to look at that and look at it from their perspective and look at my intent versus the outcome of what happened. So brothers, be open to having those discussions with sisters, ones you do and don't know, and so we can hold ourselves accountable and be better.
And my only closing remark for this one is both my brothers and my sisters. Your value hasn't been compromised, only the jury box. Mm-hmm. So the core of you is still there. The core of you is still beautiful. The core of you is still awesome. The core of you is still of substance, and that hasn't been compromised. Only the environment and the external things are. So know your value and know that you're loved. and we're here for you as always. If you need to get in touch with any of us, Authors in Art is Tara. Authors in Art on all social media platforms. And guess what? That's even on the website, authorsinart.com.
Yep.
Same thing with us, Love is a Parable. Love is a Parable on all social media platforms and loveisaparable.com. We love you guys, and good night.
Good night. Love
you.
y'all.
Hit that one for me. Just go ahead and hit that finish. Hit that.